Hi, everyone. So welcome to our Jump Search LinkedIn Live talent show. Today we have Landon Pitcher, who is co-founder over at Listo Global. And
Listo.
Listo, sorry. I have a little tongue twister right now today. But I appreciate you clarifying this. And then we have me, Michelle Kuo from Jump Search, and Eric Solano from Jump Search as well as moderators. So want to welcome everybody here. And want to start off, I'm going to just do a quick poll just to see where everybody's coming from. Drop it in the comments. I'd love to find out where you guys all coming from. I know sometimes we have people from around the world. So if this is more of a global podcast, I'm sure we'll have more people from around the world.
Yeah, we are streaming live, but this will be posted up as a podcast too afterwards.
And just as an introduction, Eric and I are both coming from Heber City, which is a 15 minutes south of Park City. It's a little small farm town, and most people have never heard of it, but everyone's heard of Park City. And then Landon, where are you coming from?
I'm in a city called Lehi, not too far from you guys, Lehi, Utah. So in between Salt Lake and Provo.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing.
And for those of you that are not in Utah, fall in Utah is amazing right now. The colors are just the kind of things that you see in like screensavers and calendars. It's just red and yellows and oranges. It's really amazing right now. And we got some snow, surprisingly enough. We got some snow in the higher elevation. So the contrast of the snow and the colors it's just amazing right now. So if you ever have some time to come out here, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah. So I see a couple people online. So David's coming from Sacramento, Dunya from Charlotte, North Carolina, Jessica from Utah. Kiana, I did not know you were from Scotland. So hi, from around the world. We have Chatsford, Pennsylvania, Northern California, Vancouver, British Columbia, and Park City. Welcome, Logan, neighbors. So it seems like we're pretty global here. All right. So, quick question. I know we were talking a little bit about the Halloween theme, and I'm kind of curious, Landon. What are you going to be for Halloween? I know it's a silly question. And then everybody else needs to drop in the comment. What are they going to be for Halloween? I'm curious.
I'm actually pretty excited about what I'm going to be this year. I've got a little 4-year-old boy who I brainwashed to like Ninja Turtles, so he's crazy about them. And so
Which Ninja Turtle?
Yeah, what's that?
Which one?
So he loves Raphael, and it's the one with the red. We have 4 kids, so my daughters have been compliant, so they're going to be Ninja Turtles as well. My wife is April O'Neil, which any kid that grew up around my generation, like in the 80s, mid 80s, like, man, to have my wife be April O'Neil I'm Casey Jones, right? Like, much better than that. So that's what I'm most excited about. My kids to be turtles and my wife to be April O'Neil. And I just, put on a mask and hold a bat in a cricket club. And so that's about it.
Oh, that is awesome.
I can't wait to see the pictures.
Yeah, it'll be pretty fun.
You guys are coordinated. I think, I'm going to be boring because last year we were Where's Waldo and Where's Wanda? And, we do search, right? And so part of it was, hey, we make it easy to find candidates, make it easy to find us. So I might just opt for Where's Wanda if I have no other choice.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to be this year. We got to figure it out. We got some work to do.
Yeah. All right. Well, it sounds like, and then Logan's going to be part of the M's family. You said Gomez. But what were you saying, Landon?
Oh, just you've got plenty of time to your decision. So
yeah, for sure. Well, let's get it started. Landon, do you want to go ahead and give an intro on you and your company, and we'll start from there?
Yeah, you bet. My name is Landon Pitcher, and I guess if you were to think of me and my company, think global. So the company's name is Listo, which means ready in Spanish, and we kind of have some fun with that. Like Listo is ready to help you expand overseas, ready to help you pay your people, compliantly hire. And that's really what our offering is. To boil it down, we make it easy for companies to find, hire, and pay global talent. And we partner with groups like Jump Search to do the find piece. And then once if you don't already have global talent, then we can help you to make that really easy to get them a compliant employment contract, benefits, and compliant payroll, rather than just sending a bank wire and paying people under the table. A lot of people don't want to do that, but they don't know how to go about doing it the proper way. And so that's where Listo comes in. We just make it easy to, again, hire and pay your global team. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, Landon, you and I and Michelle, we've had a chance to get to know you here a little bit over the past year or so.
Yeah, I think
And,
so.
I just want to welcome you to this podcast of ours, and we're really excited to have you. And,
Thank you.
our audience is folks that many of them are job seekers, many of them are tech, and many of them are trying to navigate sort of the challenging job seeking environment of today. And so we're really glad to have you here today so that we can kind of explore some of your experience, throughout your career, but also your experience working globally. I mean, I know that's a big passion of yours. Obviously, you started a company that deals in connecting opportunity and talent globally. You've worked with a number of different companies: Pluralsight, Cisco Systems, ExxonMobil. You've worked and lived in different countries: Eastern Europe, Africa, China. And so you have this global perspective that I think a lot of us don't have, and really curious to kind of dive into that perspective and see how that could be relevant to to us and to job seekers out there today. And so why don't we dive in? Maybe you could talk a little bit about kind of some of the trends that you're seeing in global right now, given that Listo is connecting talent with opportunity abroad. And what are some of those trends that that you're seeing, and how could that be relevant to folks that are trying to really navigate this job search environment?
Yeah. Yep. Great question. The trends are interesting. In fact, I've never seen such a wave to a specific region. If you were to break up the world, over the last 5 or 10 years that I've been in this industry, a lot of companies will, a lot of the work was going to India, Southeast Asia, Philippines. If a company wanted to outsource, those were the low cost markets they were looking at. COVID has changed some things, and in the fact that now more and more companies are open to hiring talent all around the world. And so, it's kind of like, if you're going to hire someone in San Jose, California, why don't we look at San Jose, Costa Rica as well, right? Could be a great cost savings, add some diversity to the team and thought and nationality, culture, and those kinds of things, right? And so, wages increased in a couple of markets like Mexico and India in particular. They have like a 60-day notice period in India. So you resign from your company and you're still there for 60 days, maybe 90. And so when you have that offer from another company, you can go and shop it. And you'll talk to 2 or 3 other companies and say, like, yeah, here's my offer. If you want to beat it, I'll go with you instead. And so that has caused India's wages to go up and up even more, and push things more to Eastern Europe, right? And so Poland and Hungary and Romania, the Baltics, have been, great hotspots as well. And then what did we find? A war, right? The Russia invasion has pushed a lot of the work that was going to Europe into Latin America. And so it's been really interesting. Like I said, I've never seen a wave like this. And we were wondering, is it because our company's name is Listo, which is Spanish, like that we're getting all these companies that want to hire in Latin America? But it's not. I mean, the conversations have just gone that direction. So a lot of hiring in Colombia, Mexico, like I said, Costa Rica is a great market that our clients are hiring people in.
Yeah, so it seems like the ability to connect talent and opportunity globally now is becoming more prolific. Obviously, Listo helps remove some of the friction points there. If I'm a job seeker here domestically in the United States, and maybe I work in tech, maybe I'm a software engineer, I mean, how do I compete with, obviously not all companies are being offshored. How should I be thinking about globalization? And, should I consider that as sort of a threat to my career or livelihood? Or yeah, how do I make sense of all that's going on right now? I mean, you have AI, you have globalization. Is AI going to be writing code for me, or is some person in the Philippines going to be writing code for me and sort of stealing my job, so to speak? Like, how should I be thinking about this?
Yep, great question. I was thinking about that with the audience as I'm explaining how there's a great cost savings in hiring in lower cost markets, of course. And so I'll tell you that my job out of grad school, I studied international business. I'm really passionate about international business. My first job out of grad school was essentially helping a huge organization, ExxonMobil, with their outsourcing and site selection. Now, the individual that recruited me, he, not long after I joined the company, became the country manager of Thailand. Anyone who's ever been to Thailand, it is amazing. It's gorgeous. You love it. I've never heard anyone that's been there that didn't love it. And so my wife and I are just like, man, how do we land a Thailand expat job? And really, I joined ExxonMobil because they're one of the few that really still sends employees overseas. We wanted that experience. But my first assignment was cost analysis. So depending upon which country and which type of role, how much is an IT person in Budapest versus Buenos Aires versus Bangkok, and putting all of that data together. Well, it only took a couple of weeks for me to see, oh my goodness, you can hire 10 of my exact same job type in Thailand for what it would be for them to send me, not 10 of me, but like the expat cost is really expensive to put a family up and everything. And so it was like, not only is my dream of this expat thing going to be a little bit more difficult than I want, but I'm up against, we're competing against talent worldwide. So it hit me in the face really quickly. And I'm someone that loves it and embraces, the globalization that we have. I love that it gives other people opportunities and to match that and allow us to work with other people around the world. It's amazing in many ways. But to answer your question, yeah, it hit me like right away. Okay, what do I need to do to future-proof myself with the globalization that's happening? You mentioned AI. I don't know on the AI part. I hope you're going to do another webinar that I can join and listen in and take notes on the AI piece, because I'm like, I don't know. But I can tell you a little bit about the globalization part, and that is get experience working with a global team. Leading a global team if you can, hiring a global team if you can. And the reason I say that is because when we're having conversations with companies, that's one of the things that they are looking for and want. Leaders, CTOs will say things like, yeah, we want to hire in lower cost markets, but I'm not sure that any of our leaders are up for that. They maybe haven't, they're not, their mindset or their tolerance or, some of those kinds of things may not be ready to manage a global team. So if you come into the organization like one of our co-founders did, and he's like, yeah, I've had teams in Nepal and in Egypt and in Brazil. And, I already bring a network of great people. That's incredible to know that you've got that experience and have done that.
Really quick, sorry to interrupt you here.
Sure.
One of us has some sort of notifications buzzing. Do you guys hear that sound?
Definitely do. And I've silenced mine, but let me just click out of my messenger as well, just in case. I think it is mine. So
Okay, no worries. So, this idea as a job seeker that I'm looking for my next opportunity, and this came up with Michelle and me the other day. We were looking at ways that we could leverage sort of this globalization movement and accessing talent overseas just for our our small business. And then I started thinking a little bit more about, is this something that a typical job seeker could do? And I don't know the answer to this, but if I'm a job seeker and, maybe I have a process for applying or researching different companies, maybe there's a way that I could employ a virtual assistant in the Philippines, for example, or overseas to help me with maybe some of the more mundane work. I mean, it's kind of out there, right? It's like maybe I'm unemployed, or maybe I'm, working a job and I'm looking for my next job. The last thing I'm really thinking about is hiring somebody. But I don't know, maybe there's a possibility there. And I just kind of want to throw that out there as globalization is not, as far as I can tell, it's not just about, sort of arbitraging jobs or opportunities from one place to another, but maybe it does create new opportunities, right? Because, if you are doing a job search, is there something that is potentially low level that maybe you can outsource that could allow you to focus on higher value things, right? And so it gets you thinking a little bit differently, maybe as a job seeker. And I was just wondering what your thoughts are on that, Landon. We haven't really done much offshoring. We've done a little bit, but it does change the thing, right? Because if you can hire somebody for $5 or $10 an hour, and they can work part time for you doing sort of the lower level stuff, maybe it creates new opportunities for you as a job seeker or someone that is, just looking to become higher performing in your own life or your own career.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting thought. I hadn't really given that any thought. Like you said, if you're a job seeker, you may not want to fork out the budget to do that. But what you're bringing up, though, is even at a higher level, the point of keep investing in yourself and invest in the process to find a job. And yes, whether that is hiring someone that in the Philippines or Africa at $4 an hour, right, to help you pull a list of companies that are hiring for a job position that you are interested in, and then they're submitting resumes on your behalf and that kind of thing to really get your name out there. That's a great idea. I hadn't really thought of that. I think that some of the other things that just like on the topic of investing in your career search, investing in yourself. I made a big transition from oil and gas, financial reporting, accounting. And it was like, okay, enough. I need to make a career pivot for myself. I want to move home to Utah if possible. And funny enough, like I was begging to go to locations. I told you I'd wanted to do the expat thing. I was begging to go to locations that no one should ever volunteer to go to, right? Like,
What locations were they?
Mozambique and Angola, and then crazy enough, like okay, so this is going to sound really stupid, but there was a person that had my exact same job in South Iraq, Basra, and you and your family live in Dubai, and then every 2 weeks you travel in, bulletproof car, vest, you go in on site,
Wow.
for meetings with the company leadership, and so. And it's ExxonMobil, right? You're safe. Like it's gonna, but and the premium for it was really big. So
But you were
that
seriously
was like the
considering that.
last. What's that?
You were seriously considering that.
Not just considering. I was like the person that was in that job quit, and so then I went to my leadership, and it was like it's time for my rotation. This Iraq role is open, and I'm very interested. I talked to another executive, a friend of mine with a different oil and gas company who'd worked there, and he's like, "It's Basra, it's safe, it's not hot, like." That would be an incredible opportunity to make a lot of money. But the leadership at Exxon was like, you don't know what you're asking for, but we'll put your name in. And then they ended up hiring someone from Russia, I think, as a cost savings. Again, like American expat to Iraq is a lot different than either Russia or Egypt going to Iraq. So like it saved them a lot of money. And so that was the point when I said, all right, if I can't get the analyst role in Iraq, then like I'm not going global with ExxonMobil anytime soon. I'm ready to go home. So I took anyway. I guess I would say a couple of the things that I invested in were my network, which I just think we can never stop investing in your network. And then the other thing is in this day and age to future proof your career from globalization, never stop investing in learning. And so I knew I kind of wanted to go the sales direction. And I didn't do that much in terms of learning. I asked my brother, who was a sales leader at Instructure, are there any good like newsletters, podcasts, anything like that? And this was 2016, so like, anyway, I subscribed to a podcast, got some newsletters, and I went into these interviews like showing how, with my analytic background and my mindset, like if you want me to hit quota, then I take the quota, I double it, and I backtrack my way into how many meetings I need, how many, emails and calls I set up and everything. And it resulted in a handful of offers going into the sales world, just to show that I've got that experience and know how to use numbers. But being a learner, listening to podcasts, again, newsletters and things, blogs, made it like really, really quick to make that transition and then succeed in the transition as well. So I guess that would be one of the other things, adding to the list, like never stop investing in your network, in your learning, being lifelong learners. It's not to get a degree and then you're done. It's continuing, and then getting experiences with leading and working with global teams would be another piece. So
Then, networking is such a huge thing right now, in terms of, when you're a job seeker, you're looking to network and you have a very specific aim in mind. Often it's a short-term aim. And I guess, what are some of the things that you've learned in terms of networking that have been sort of tried and true that you think others can benefit from?
Okay, so one of my favorite people in the world, I'll give him a shout out. His name's Trent Mortensen. He's with 97th Floor, and he's a channel partners representative leader. And he built Divvy's, now Bill.com's channel program. He has he's so good at genuinely just wanting to know how he can help others. And in fact, he does this meeting where he'll schedule time on your calendar and call it an all about you meeting. Like, what can I do for you in your role? What introductions can I make? What softwares could I suggest? What problems could I help you solve? And he's like, and most people want to reciprocate, like, well, how can I help you? And he's like, no, 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 no. If you want to schedule another, like an all about me meeting at another point, we can, but this 20 minutes is all about you. It's so cool that he does that. And he's always looking out for other people. And so it's hard to do when, if, I'm talking to job seekers that are looking for a job right now, you're kind of in that survival mode, like want to get my head above water or, stay above water. But thinking of other people and how you can help them nudge something along, make an intro is key, and then make it a part of your routine and your process. So, I'll take, every Friday is a day, Friday mornings I'll dedicate to meeting with job seekers, even though, again, we're not a recruiting agency. Like, we work with recruiting groups like yours. But why not speak with a couple of job seekers, hear what they're doing, what they're going for, and who knows, maybe I can connect some dots for them, and or not, right? But then maybe later they'll remember that at least I took the time to meet with them, and when they're building their global team, they'll call me because they remember that, right? But yeah, just kind of maybe make it a part of your routine. I go to our alumni chapter events, so if there's anyone that went to Thunderbird by chance or interested in attending Thunderbird, we're going to Braza Grill. It's the first Thursday of every month. So that's tonight at 6:30. So some of those
That
things,
sounds amazing.
yeah, it's some of those kind of things that you, like I said, you can just build them right into your routine, and you just stick with it, just like anything else. Your workouts, your other goals. Just make networking a part of your career process.
Landon, I love how you're talking about networking, but not networking in the mindset of taking, because
Correct.
we get inundated by a lot of job seekers, and
Correct. Yeah.
when people come to me after we've connected and they say, "Hey, can you review my resume, or can you look at my profile and just tell me what I would be qualified for?" It's a little bit different because you haven't built those networks, you haven't built that, you haven't given. And so it's, for us, it's, you don't want to ask without, you don't want to be taking without giving. And so I think what you're trying to say is you got to have this mindset of giving. And when you build up a network that you have given to, it will give back in return. And it's kind of hard because when you're already in your job seeking mindset, you are in this. You're kind of keeping your head above the water, and you were trying to ask your network. And so maybe as a question, like, how do you build your network before it's too late, or before you get rift, or maybe you are as you're a job seeker right now. Like, how would you go about building out a network to give and hopefully get something in return?
Yeah. Have you heard the saying, never eat lunch alone? I think that's one of
Yeah.
them. Like, I've skipped lunch most of the time and run downstairs and make a quesadilla in my kitchens a lot of the time. But never eat lunch alone. I think that's a great saying. If you're in an office environment, like, take one of your coworkers, get to know them, or schedule something with someone. Lunches are great. Again, networking events. I'll give a shout out to Jeff Erickson, Founders and Funders, some of those kinds of things like Silicon Slopes. Just be there. Again, if it's once a month, you're making it a priority, or once a week, to get out and meet new people. And it's like they say, like, you it's hard to get credit when you don't need it. Like, when you're trying to go for funding, it's like, take it when you don't need it, because then it's harder to get it when you do. So when you do have a job, be networking, and when you don't, again, just be out there, be networking, see how you can help somebody. That's going to be the most appealing thing. Never go to lunch alone. What was I going to say? Oh, just a little plug for you guys. I think you can relate to this, so I'll say this so you don't have to be the bad guy. But how often do you have people that come up to you and you're like, oh, you're in recruiting, I know a guy that needs a job, and they think that they're really helping you, right? And it's like, it could maybe help, like 1% chance that it's going to really help me. What's ultimately going to happen is I'm going to take this job seeker and keep them in my database, of course, and keep an eye on them. But what's making Jump Search income, what's making our bones, is actually companies that need to hire. Those are the recommendations, the introductions that help you. Whereas, like, so if someone comes to you and says, I've got a job seeker for you, it's kind of like, oh, great. And if you talk to every job seeker that's looking for a job and gave them 30 minutes, you would have no time to ever talk to companies about selling your recruiting services. And you would never make any money. So I'm putting that plug out there to your audience, so that you don't ever have to say that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
no,
just
I appreciate it, Landon.
just to sort of to piggyback on that. So, if you're out there looking for an opportunity and you're trying to connect with recruiters, but kind of like what Michelle and Leonard are saying, you need to figure out a way that you can add value. And, there's a lot of folks out there that really don't know how recruiters work or how recruiting works. But what recruiters find valuable are relevant introductions, and platforms. If there's a platform for a recruiter to get exposure, maybe it's speaking at a local university or speaking at a company event or something like that. That's valuable, right? And so the other thing is too, as a job seeker, you have to be your own recruiter, especially nowadays. If you are super marketable and you have a niche skill that's in demand or experience that's in demand, the recruiters will find you. So if you're having to knock on a recruiter's door, chances are you need to figure out how you can add value. So just a little pro tip there.
Yeah, great point. That's a great point.
But Landon, so I did want to pivot a little bit into pivoting. Looking at your career, you've worked in financials, in sort of finance roles, and then you've transitioned into sales, and then you've transitioned into being an entrepreneur. And pivots are one of the hardest things that a person can deal with, whether in their personal life or in their professional career, or even as an entrepreneur, pivoting from one product or idea into another one. Pivots can be one of the most challenging things. You've made some pivots in your career, and we'd love to hear a little bit more about that. And as job seekers are considering maybe pivoting into a different career, like, what are some things that you've learned in your pivots, and what was sort of the thought process as you considered a pivot? Like, what was your experience there?
The job that I took after grad school at ExxonMobil was like, it wasn't for me. I'll say that. So, like, a pivot was necessary. During grad school, or before grad school, actually, we had to take this career assessment called Career Leader. I don't know if you guys have a favorite assessment tool, but job seekers, Career Leader is a Harvard produced assessment. It costs $75 or $100. And when I took it, it recommended like sales leadership, sales. And then I was like, well, I want to be a management consultant. And that was down in like on a scale of 1 to 130. Finance and accounting, corporate accounting was 10. So I was like, but this Exxon job led to the expat opportunity that was, that's going to be so fun. And so I took it. But it wasn't the best fit, right? And although it was, some of the work that I got to do was amazing, that experience was incredible. After almost 5 years, it was like, okay, it's time to pivot. In fact, I retook that assessment just to make sure that it wasn't biased by anything. So I paid the money, retook the assessment, sales. And so that's what made
Landon,
the
what
switch.
were the signals that you were getting that were prompting you to think, oh, I need to pivot?
Conversations, I think, probably with, friends and family, seeing like, my job was secure, and it was fine, but like there wasn't a lot of upside. And also just my human nature is more personable and talk to people, and like, doing financial analysis and living in spreadsheets, although is great sometimes, and I love that. It wasn't for me. It was like, if I got to present to the corporate controller once every other month or something like that. And when I did present, it was pretty much just like reading line items from a financial statement. It was like, that's not, I love the sales energy, relationship building, those kinds of things. So I knew to my core, like, this isn't for me. And then some friends too. I remember saying to one of my buddies, like, gosh, so all of our friends, even the ones that did this in school and that in school, engineering, all of them are in sales. And my buddy Isaac was like, yeah, you're the best salesman out of all of us, and you're not. And it was like, ooh, yeah, let's see what I could do. I knew if I put in as many hours in finance and accounting into sales, like I could have success, So even if I'm not born for it, but if it was putting in the time, the hours, the hard work, building processes, that I could do it. So that's that's kind of what drove me to take the assessment, make the career change. It's scary. Like, my wife was really scared and nervous. We had to relocate from Dallas to here. And I had what happened, like everyone's worst nightmare. I had a job offer with a company that I won't name, that has a crazy CEO, that maybe made headlines about a year ago. Anyway, and it was a good offer. I could start in Dallas and move my way to Utah again. This was 2016. Um, and I'd interviewed with 10 or so other companies, but the offer was great. They said, we have sales kickoff in, I think it was going to be Park City, in 2.5 weeks. So, get your tickets and everything like that, but no written offer. So I went to my leader at Exxon and I gave the ultimatum, right? Like, if my next spot's not going to be overseas, then I've got another job offer. I'm going to take it. And then the recruiter, or the hiring manager, went dark on me for 2 days. I was like, hey, when are we gonna get that written offer? I'm supposed to be in Park City in 2 weeks, right? I needed to give notice. And now my immediate boss is like, so are you leaving or not? We need to know if we need to replace you. And it was just like, and then I got a message that said, we gave the offer to one of our clients. I'm sorry. I hope you can understand. They've been using our software longer. They'll have a faster ramp. And I was just like, oh. So I had to take a job a little bit more entry level, right? One of them was like a solutions consultant sales engineer. And the other one was an enterprise SDR that was like, I was above that, right? But took it, made good money, learned as much as I could for that first 6 months of doing it. And so glad I did. Again, relationships, what I learned, what I've gained has helped me through that was 2016, and it's now 7 years, right? Like, it's helped me a lot in my career. So it was scary, and it was definitely taking a step back in order to take a step forward. But even as an SDR, those first couple months were like, this is so much. I'm so excited to get to work, first in, last out, because it wasn't just putting in time to put in time. It was like, I can actually write my own check to some degree, like have control to be able to make an impact. And then the switch, I think that you're maybe referring to more recently, to founding Listo about 1.5 years ago. Similarly, you hit a point where it's like, man, I think I know I can do this. a lot of it was about my co-founders. If I could peel them away to come do this with me, there's no stopping us.
Did you lead the charge? Did you lead the charge in peeling them away?
I've been trying to lead that charge since prior to COVID, frankly. I've been telling them, come on, guys, let's do this. We can do it so much better. So yeah, I peeled them away a year and a half ago, and they said, if we could, we're going to have a Landon was right party with like Landon was right t-shirts or bowling or something. Because if we would have done this, 2019, 2020, we'd have a lot more success. So, well,
You had a
still doing it, but yeah. It's scary
yeah.
to take those risks though, right? It's not, my dad worked a very secure government job. He had a PhD, so he's like kind of overqualified. He was never just he just never changed. He was never thrilled about his career. And I saw that. I saw the impact it had on him, and not taking risks, not trying to do more. So it was like 35-year career with the Air Force. And it's great. That security is wonderful, but you only get to live once, and take the risks when you're young if you can, and see what you can make of them.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Our previous generation, they had this idea of, your job didn't have to be your passion. That was sort of a luxury, And if you can find that confluence of sort of in the ikigai spirit, right, where if you can find the confluence of what you're good at, what the market needs, in your passion, and what you can get paid for, that's a sweet spot. It's such a sweet spot. But previous generations didn't feel like they had that luxury. But today, it feels like there's a lot of opportunity to achieve that. And even if you can't achieve that, there's no shame in that either, right? I don't think there's any shame in that. And for a lot of us, we can't achieve that. We don't have that. We haven't yet achieved that, right? And that's okay. But know that there is an opportunity to work towards that, and you can find that over time. A lot of times, it's not overnight. But if you're playing the long game, you can find that. Maybe you won't find it in the first year, 2 years. Maybe you won't find that in the first 5 years or 10 years. But know that exists. Again, that confluence of what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can get paid for, and what you're passionate about, right? If you can find that confluence, you can. I believe you can. Again, I don't think it's going to happen overnight for most folks, but it feels like you're in a good place with there, Landon. I mean, you're passionate about global. I mean, you're the one that's championing this vision about, hey, we can do it better, and you're peeling these guys probably away from a cushy job to pursue some vision, right? And that's amazing, right? And I did a post this morning about telling stories and the power in storytelling, right? And you probably had to go through that experience, I would imagine, of seeing that vision, sort of telling your story to yourself about what the possibilities could be. And now you're translating that and telling their stories to, your would-be founders, and sort of eventually peeling them away from security and to pursue this vision. So kudos to you. I think this is really awesome. And I think, some of our job seekers can learn from that too, so.
Yeah. I was going to jump in because I know that we've been talking about, there's a lot of gems in this. So one thing you did mention, Landon, was job security. Back then when your dad was working at a job for 35 years, that's job security, and it was there. But now these days, there's not really job security, right? You could be in a job for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years at the same company, and you can just get laid off the next day. So, I know you've talked about, Landon, you talked about making sure that you're kind of learning and growing. I guess, what other advice do you have for job security today? Because it's different from what it was back then.
Yeah, it's what's the Jay-Z quote? I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man. Right? It's like making yourself job security comes in who you are and what skills you have, is what it boils down to for me. That career assessment that I took, it takes you, the Harvard one, Career Leader, it takes your motivators, like what motivates you, what are you interested in, and what are you good at. And I think there's like 10 different options for each. And then it kind of, does its little thing and weaves it together and tells you what good jobs would be good fits for you. But there's things like, does lifestyle and more time with your family, or is it more money, or is it job security? And job security actually ranked pretty low for me. And maybe it's because I've been fortunate. I've not, well, knock on wood, I've never been laid off or fired or gone through that experience, which can be pretty traumatic, obviously. But in some ways, I'm aiming for those other pieces, the being able to spend time, which doesn't really happen, right? And so I'm driven towards some of these other things. Obviously, the interest is exactly what I'm doing. What motivates me, it's exactly what I'm doing, and what I'm aiming for is that. So again, I think if you're continuing to learn and you're continuing to build your network, you are hedging yourself, you're protecting yourself from that. There's not a specific hack like, oh yeah, go learn how to, do really good PowerPoints. It's like, just be good at your craft, develop it, keep learning, keep networking, and you'll find your next role. You just will, right?
Yeah. So it sounds like investing in you. That's you got to invest in yourself as a business, be your own recruiter, and get yourself out there.
What would you guys add to it, right? And it's like, keep learning, be a lifelong learner and a lifelong networker, and you're going to be employed. Maybe you'll have little stints of being laid off or this or that, but what more could you do, right? What am I missing?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges, kind of going back to the pivot, is why pivots are so hard is because what's worked in the past won't necessarily work in the future, right? Because especially now, things are changing so rapidly, and maybe the job that you identified with in the past, it's going to evolve quickly. Maybe it'll evolve very quickly. Maybe it'll evolve overnight, especially with globalization or AI or whatnot. And if you identify too closely with that and try to be resistant to change or slow to change, that could work against you. And so the one thing I would add is just, in addition to the ability to learn, is also the ability to just adapt, right? I guess that goes hand in hand with learning, but being able to adapt and not being too attached to what has worked in the past, whether that's, you know, uh, or even identifying with a specific role. I am a recruiter, for example, right? I am a recruiter. I try to be very specific about the language that I use. I do recruiting, and sometimes I'm a recruiter, but I don't identify too closely with that because it could be very limiting. And so that's one thing I would add.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna same thing. I mean, in terms of the adaptability, I mean, this year it's just been brutal. The whole recruiting industry is just fallen, and if you identify as a recruiter, you know that a ton of recruiters over at Google were laid off too, right? A ton of recruiters at other big companies have been laid off, and so it's hard. I think because when things are bad and brutal, I think it's an opportunity. If you don't identify solely as, hey, I'm a recruiter, you can really look at, well, what can I pivot into? Or maybe what was I actually passionate about? Maybe I wasn't passionate about it in recruiting. And it's an opportunity because where there's pain, there's an opportunity for you to adjust and pivot. And so I know we're talking about transitions, we're talking about globalization, we're talking about investing in yourself. And I think that all these things really go hand in hand together. So that's just kind of my thought there.
Yeah, completely agree.
So, as we sort of wind down the conversation here, Landon, any sort of parting words for job seekers and people that are managing their careers out there in light of globalization, in light of sort of being adaptable as sort of the global workforce and landscape is evolving? Any sort of parting words?
I would just say, I know it's hard to think like, just be confident. But again, it's probably hard because that layoff experience or departing, leaving, quitting might have been a little bit traumatic. But just know this too shall pass. You're going to find yourself in a better place soon, and so put yourself in that mindset as much as you can. And what is the word? The manifest it, right? Confidence is the ultimate attractant. So as you're going into job interviews, take a page of the sales book, assume the sale, believe that you're going to get it, and be confident. Granted, my co-founder Freddie, he's coined the phrase commission breath. Don't ever sound desperate, or don't ever try to make it awkward or try to close it. Like don't make it prickly just because you really need a job. Just be confident in who you are and what you bring, and that the company will make the best decision. And I think that that's going to be the most for you. And then again, as we've talked about in the game of networking, find ways to help other people and be a value add to others, because there are ways you can. So
Awesome. And Landon, how can folks connect with you and learn more about Listo?
I'm on LinkedIn, Landon Pitcher. My company is ListoGlobal.com. Again, that's Listo, like Spanish for ready. So ListoGlobal.com. And again, I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to connect with me. And would love to hear of anyone that's looking to hire globally or has people internationally. And I have those conversations all the time. We can talk about it for hours. And so it's a lot of fun.
And I've dropped Landon's LinkedIn and your website as well, your company's website. So
Very good.
all that's in the chat.
Thank you. Very good.
All right. Awesome. All right, Landon, we hope to have you again on our podcast in the future. And, best of luck with Listo, and we'll talk to you
I
soon.
love what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for having me, and keep on keeping on. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
for sure.
Landon.
All right. Thanks, Landon.
All right. Bye-bye.
See you, everyone.